Hello everyone and welcome to the StarCityGames.com Open Series here in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm Glenn Jones and I'm joined in the sideboard by Jeff Hoogland. Jeff, how's it going?
It's going pretty well.
Jeff, you're playing, as usual, a little bit of a brew. Obviously, you know, a new standard format's pretty much your playground.
Most
right?
of them are brews,
yeah. So the one you went with today is actually kind of conservative by your standards, I think. I'm used to seeing you branch out pretty deep, and we have here a blue-red control deck. You know, pretty solid theory, basically. You know, you've got a little bit of burn for removal, you've got some threats, some counter magic, tried and true, dating back to the days of Shard Phoenix.
Yeah.
But the brew you're using actually has a ton of new Theros cards in it. We're going to start with 3 of those that I think are pretty important to note. First off, Anger of the Gods. Everyone kind of expects a fair bit from the Slagstorm variant, and I imagine it's performing quite well for you just in that role.
Yeah, the card's very powerful. It's really good against the mono red deck and the green-white little dudes deck, so...
Sure. Excellent against Voice of Resurgence specifically,
yes,
obviously.
Definitely.
Then you've got Prognostic Sphinx, the little Sphinx of Jwaro that might actually get there. Sphinx of Jwaro saw a fair bit of play when he was around in Zendikar. Not a lot, he got kind of outclassed as the format moved on and everyone realized, Planeswalkers were where you wanted to be. But at the same time, being able to gain hexproof is really powerful for the Prognostic Sphinx, and the Scry is no joke either.
Yeah, definitely. The Prognostic Sphinx is kind of like this deck's 5-mana Aetherling-ish card. Okay. It doesn't require constant mana investment, and the only thing that really kills it is Verdicts. So it's very powerful. Its stats also match up really well against all of the 4/4 dragons that are coming off the top.
Makes a lot of sense. Sure. The Stormwrath Dragon just gets shut down completely, and you can also crack back, dig for answers that you might need as well.
Yep. It's also not profitable for a Boros Reckoner to attack into it, so...
Yeah, definitely can't trade.
Yep.
Can discard a card in response to trigger. So a lot of pluses and minuses going on with the Prognostic Sphinx. Mostly as it's not a quick game closer. I think is its biggest detriment, but it's obviously a pretty durable creature.
Yeah, and it also finds you your faster game closer while it's attacking.
All right, and then last, certainly not least, Thassa, God of the Sea. The gods kind of have received some mixed hype. So how is Thassa working out for you?
Thassa at 3 mana is really aggressively costed, especially compared to all the other 4-mana gods, so she fits into the curve nicely. She allows the deck to play some filtering on 3, because unlike the Sphinx's Revelation decks, we don't need to hit all of our land drops. We're happy just getting to 5 or 6, so we get to scry away a ton of cards that otherwise wouldn't be action. Yeah,
that makes sense. The Sphinx Revelation decks are trying to just make a land every turn until the end of the game, whereas you can actually just start ignoring those. You've got a 5/5 beater maybe you can turn on, and the Scry one also doesn't require any mana investment, so you're not stuck playing cards like Divination necessarily to try and fuel you.
Yeah, definitely. And the sweet thing about Thassa is even though we're more of a controlling deck, it allows the deck to have more aggressive draws where sometimes they just die on turn 5.
All right, well, you do have to enable Devotion. It doesn't just come to you. And other than having a pair of Prognostic Sphinxes on the board, we have some other blue cards in your deck, obviously.
Yeah, definitely.
We've got Jace, Architect of Thought. Planeswalkers are a great enabler, I think, for all of these Devotion cards in general, because they're kind of difficult to remove, and they're just good in general. And Jace is no slouch. I don't think we need to sing his praises any further than the standard format already has. But you're also playing a couple weird ones. Frostburn weird on 2. Reasonable creature. We've seen some people proposing that he might be a go-to man in standard.
I think Frostburn Weird's going to become a standard staple, especially if the aggressive decks stay around. Jace and Weird both have the effect that they force your opponent to overextend into your Anger of the Gods.
Okay.
So that's a powerful effect.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. The fact he sticks around through the Anger of the Gods, that's huge.
Yeah, that's definitely,
And against control decks, how do you evaluate the Frostburn Weird as a threat? Like, does he actually create a little bit of pressure, or has that not been your experience?
Oh yeah, definitely. In my first round, I was able to just clock my opponent for 2 turns in a row with Frostburn Weird and Thassa.
Oh, well, that'll get the job done. Another enabler that you have, again, not as great against control, however, is Claustrophobia. I honestly did not see Claustrophobia, having its impact on standard. I know before we sat down, you said it's been okay, not incredible, but the weirds have been very good. So Claustrophobia, you decided to run a couple main, you've got an extra one on the board. How did you arrive at it as a specific answer for this deck?
So Claustrophobia feels a necessary evil for this deck, and by that I mean the few things that turn burn doesn't kill for you, Claustrophobia takes care of. Occasionally, Desecration Demon can be a hassle, especially if you get stuck on 3 or 4 lands, so you can stop their 4-mana investment with your 3-mana investment.
Not bad, especially once you're trying to move into these game plans where you have Syncopate and Dissolve up while you're playing your own spells.
Yeah, exactly. So turn burn's expensive even when you do want it sometimes, and the fact that it enables 2 Devotion is very relevant for your Thassa.
Yeah.
Because especially if you have Frostburn Weird on 2, Thassa on 3, Claustrophobia, tap a dude on 4. Now I've got 2 giant creatures you have to attack through. It's very powerful.
Yeah, it can definitely make things really tricky for them.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you're playing a more limited sweeper, like Angular Gods is no Supreme Burrick, even though it is a very good card, being able to answer something large is obviously very important.
It's also been a really effective answer to, like, Boros Reckoner, so that way I don't actually have to, like, kill it with damage. It can just be there and be irrelevant.
Yeah, you stick around over there, we're good. You don't have Sphinx's Revelation. Obviously, you're blue and red.
Correct.
So you've supplemented the card drawing aspect of the deck with another card that people have, you know, played a couple of times, mostly in Grixis decks of the past. Thought Flair, really strong limited card. How's it been playing out for you today?
I'm really happy with Thought Flair. A question I get a lot that people have been looking at the deck is why am I not playing Steam Augury? And the answer is I think Thought Flair is just worth the 1 mana more investment. A lot of the time your Steam Augury piles, like, there's one really relevant card and you never get that relevant card with the Steam Augury. And Thought Flair has the added bonus that you can hold land, so if you draw 4 pieces of action, you get to keep all of them.
Sure.
And your opponent doesn't get to see the action that you're drawing.
Yeah, and we already discussed that. You know, the being able to hold lands is definitely a big difference between this and other control decks.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, I kind of agree with you on Thought Flair versus Steam Augury, and there's definitely some tension between those 2 cards. So
for sure,
we might have to wait to see Steam Augury hitting it until Thought Flair takes a vacation.
Yeah.
And last but not least, you got another Theros card in your sideboard. I was actually pretty interested to see it because it's very different from what the rest of the deck is doing, and it's Hammer of Perforos. You know, a lot of people have thought that this card might be sort of a Fires of Yavimaya with upside, but it's obviously not playing that role in this deck. Like, it grants your creatures haste, but like you're playing it to have some sort of inevitable, you know, grinding golem.
Definitely. The Hammer was my answer. I tried a variety of cards in my sideboard to go underneath the other control decks that are playing Sphinx's Revelation, and Hammer was the most effective role for that slot, especially if you are on the play. The only counter magic for it is Negate or Swan Song. Like, you get to play it before they have Dissolve mana up. And it's another outlet for your excess land if you're unable to scry them away. Just put a 3/3 on the table, and eventually they're going to Verdict it or Azorius Charm it, and then you make another one.
Yeah, so your control deck is really occupying a little closer to the aggro control space. You know, you've come with a lot of plans for attacking, but you're perfectly willing to sit there and dissolve their spells until you kill them with Thought Flares.
Yeah, exactly. It's very much about recognizing your role in any given matchup and assuming that right role.
All right, well, Jeff, thank you for sharing, again, another one of your decks with us. I appreciate it, and good luck in the tournament.
Thank you.